Welcome to a one-of-a-kind podcast series brought to you by Maxim Institute, Maximise Election 23. We are here every week to dive into the latest news, discussing the plain and the fancy articles while bringing you insightful analysis of the various events across our country. We also present the Generally Good Egg Award and share our expectations for the following week. Today, Executive Director Tim Wilson is joined by researcher Natasha Baulis and Director of Research and Development Marcus Roberts. Let's dive right into Maximise Election 23.
So we have a plunging dairy auction, details of property companies collapsing or certainly teetering in China, and wider ramifications for the Chinese economy. This is important because China is New Zealand's number one trading partner. Are we paying enough attention to this? I think on two levels: our politicians and our discussions in media. I don't think we are. And it's a huge problem, because this is how New Zealand earns its bread and butter, to use the phrase of the election from one point. But we're not talking about the bread and butter, are we, Natasha?
No. Well, the short answer to your question is no. We're not paying enough attention. I wonder, though, that the government is starting to expand its defence portfolio. I wonder if they're aware that China is becoming less and less significant for New Zealand, both in an economic context and in a defence context. Is New Zealand actually kind of tacitly withdrawing from China and just not talking about it?
I don't think we are talking about this enough. I think that to go out on the campaign trail and talk about roads that we want to build and hospitals that we want to renovate and education systems that we want to revamp, it all costs a lot of money. Where do we get our money from? Well, according to the government and the opposition, it's all different forms of tax, but ultimately we get our money from
earning it.
From
That's selling stuff overseas. And by the way, I mean, I know that we're a think tank. We like to say, tut, tut, tut. No one's doing enough thinking in public. What the hell can we do? What are we able to do about what's occurring? So is this realism by our political and commentariat class, or is it indifference? What do you guys think?
I don't think it's realism, because there are things we can do. Because we can stop putting all our eggs in the Chinese economic basket. We can
show us a plan.
Yeah, we can. Well, the first thing to solve a problem is recognise you've got a problem. And I don't think we're recognising it.
And then start talking about it with experts, which would also be helpful. There are experts out there. There are people who've been talking about this for years. The government needs to start having conversations with them.
Yeah.
And having conversations with other countries. So Australia, for example, started pivoting towards Vietnam some time ago economically. They've really been working towards that relationship. I think New Zealand needs to start expanding its relationship horizon as well.
I'd like to hear what the major... so let's go. Okay, China's may not be our number one trading partner within 5 years. What's the plan? Tell us. So I want to hear that from the major parties.
And all we're hearing about China is how we want their money to invest in our roads from the National Party.
Yeah, which probably, given that they're withdrawing from Africa at the moment, and many African nations are suddenly finding themselves high and dry halfway through projects, it's probably
they won't
not
have any money to give to our roads?
Yeah, potentially not a good time. Yeah.
But yeah, it looks very sobering in terms of the dairy auction last week, the lowest mark in 5 years, $7 a kg for milk solids. $8.50 is break even for farmers. So this is really going to impact the New Zealand economy in ways that we have not yet, we haven't talked about, haven't anticipated.
Everyone go out and start buying more milk.
If you can afford it.
If you can afford it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, once you get the money off of your fruit and veg, maybe you can reallocate it to calcium.
As long as you don't have to drive to the supermarket.
All right, the fancy. What do we got?
So the fancy today is this excellent, well, maybe I'm putting words in our mouths, but the idea from one of our departing MPs, Maria Lubeck from Labour. So when MPs depart the scene, they get to give a self-indulgent valedictory speech. And this one...
Oh, that's a bit harsh. Come on. There's a few chuckles.
They're a public servant. We should hear less of them.
Marcus is doubling down.
I'm doubling down. So Maria Lubeck, though, to be fair, did have a interesting point that we're going to use for our fancy, is that she floated the view that perhaps New Zealand should reconsider our joining Australia
Welcome.
Yeah, Natasha is our resident.
So
in
Natasha's
Australia.
our resident Australia. Australian. How will that go down?
Look, I
Will
think
they have us?
I think we've already got
we're-
one
We're
Victoria.
over-leveraged.
I don't know that we need two.
Our major, already got one Victoria. Are you saying we're Victoria?
Look, much more beautiful.
Back up that
Beautiful.
assertion.
Yeah.
Much more beautiful. And
Surely the Tasmania.
amazing,
Yeah.
a lot of space for sheep. So, there are benefits. We could probably sell it to Australia. I believe that actually Australia has an obligation to say yes regardless.
That's
so
right,
you
the
really
point
don't
is-
need to know what we think about it.
That's such a good point.
You just need to decide, is
What's
this
that? Tell me
going
more
to
about this.
resolve your... So it's in the Constitution of Australia. At the time that it was established,
Oh.
the offer had been put to New Zealand as another of the fellow British colonies, and New Zealand at the time decided to say no, but the door was left open.
Okay.
So you can
Okay.
take us up on it.
So the question is, Tim, should we be taking us up? Should we exercise our right to join Australia?
I would say de facto we already are. If you look at the flood of migrants across the Tasman for more money, cheaper property, better lifestyle, better weather. Apparently, I can't believe. I mean, look, I'm looking out the window now and it's hosing
Yeah.
with rain. Who doesn't
Yeah.
like rain?
I do like the green that comes from rain, which you might
Yeah.
get less of in Australia.
You guys have much better mountains, much better skiing. I think as a holiday resort
I feel like
location,
you're just saying that.
Australia's-
Oh, I see. So we can come as long as we decide to
Your
be your
Disneyland.
batch.
Yes, you'll be our
Okay.
Disneyland. A very large one. It's yes. But it is one option given the China situation, economic downturn, maybe
It's the answer to our China problem. Diversify by becoming another country.
By becoming another country.
Okay, well, this is kind of this is big picture stuff. Let's keep moving with winners and losers of this week. I'm going to say this week the winner for me, Labour. No cabinet minister exited. There was no police action.
Okay, we're setting a really low bar at this point.
Possibly, but I guess I'm seeing the election discussions recalibrating about being about policy, and in a sense that we could say on a larger scale that that's a positive thing.
Yeah. Could they pick better policy?
I just wish there was better policy. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
The
about you,
financial
Natasha?
literacy stuff, both Labour and National coming out with that.
So what was that, Natasha?
Financial literacy, yeah.
In school? Oh, the one in schools.
Yeah.
So it's going to be compulsory in schools.
Yeah. Could we do literacy first?
Like basic literacy.
Yes.
You mean like maths?
Yeah, or, English.
But it is a serious point in that when there is, and I think a lot of people are reflecting that there is a crisis in education.
But how much stuff are we going to mandate for schools?
Correct.
They've
They
got
already do
got so much
a ton
stuff
of
to
stuff
get through,
already.
and
That
it's too much.
That generally we're not doing well already.
Yeah.
And I think to be fair, it's not educators, it's the burden that we've put on them societally is huge. They can't possibly accomplish everything that they're being mandated to do. So.
Well, and I do think there's sort of like parents are shucking off stuff that parents should be doing and saying, oh, the schools can take care of it. Nah, parents, get back. Let's see your KPIs. Your KPIs are that your kids should be able to manage money. Yeah, your kids should be able to self-manage. And by the way, you're responsible for their quote-unquote well-being.
When you go shopping every week for groceries, take them with you. Talk to them about what you're doing. Talk to them about the bills that you're paying, and you have to have conversations
I've
with your
got 4
children.
boys under 8. Have you tried talking to?
Maybe wait until they're 10.
Part of your KPI though,
tsunami.
Tim.
I know. Ouch. Winners and losers, Marcus. I'm going to keep moving.
Yeah, keep going.
What do you think?
So the winner is, for me this week, is the billboards in their ongoing battle with my mental sanity on my drive into work. I've got a half-hour drive. I pass a lot of billboards. I don't like them on the first day. By about day 8, which we're up to now, I detest them. They're also starting to get defaced. They're flapping in the wind. They are
It's
an
a bit sad,
eyesore.
isn't it?
Can I suggest
8 more weeks to go.
Yeah,
Can I
8 more
suggest
weeks
you
of this.
use them with kids in the car? So what I do with my kids, with Roman, is like, okay, rate those faces. And there's a phrase at his school called sussy, which is suspect. So he's like, sussy, 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 more sussy.
So you're
I'm not
teaching
hearing.
them. You are teaching them some excellent values around skepticism when it comes to public service. Yeah, this is great, Tim. We could also be teaching them how to count by saying how many red ones and how many blue ones.
Actually, that's better.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
we'll
going
go with
to try and hit my KPIs as
Or-
a parent this week.
read the slogans.
Yeah.
That's a literacy thing. You could
Okay,
be
great.
teaching them to read and write on the way to
But you
school.
can't read them because they're all defaced.
This is what we want to do, which is turn turn melancholy and self-pity into hope, Marcus.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. So my hope
The world is a
that
playground, and we shall.
my hope is that we will get rid of them in 8 weeks. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
And that's a guarantee.
It's a guarantee.
Right there.
They
So
have
that
to.
is actually a guaranteed
have to.
hope.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
It is. It is something to look forward to.
Natasha, winners
And losers. David Seymour, I think it's a bit of both. I don't think that you
How
should.
do you, unpack that for me.
I don't think you should make jokes about Guy Fawkes in the current environment. I don't think people are able to take that as a joke. At the same time, I think that lost him some favour there.
Humour is the loser.
Well, I think that some people who resent the fact that you can't joke about Guy Fawkes probably will turn to David Seymour now as a shining beacon. So I think he's probably both a winner and a loser in that respect. Yeah.
What do you think he should have made that remark?
No, I don't think it can be helpful. No.
Yeah.
He maybe was trying to bring back a bit of historical literacy into the public discourse.
Look at that. Our public servants, how do we?
Yeah, they are. They are. So,
doing their bit.
People now, a few more people know
we're
what
talking
Guy
KPIs.
Fawkes.
Is that a job of the public service? Public servants.
Well, the politicians.
Probably, actually, you know what? I am for politicians referring to history. Maybe not in that way,
Yes.
but because surprisingly, we haven't had these. These problems aren't novel. These times are not unprecedented, to use the word of a certain time period. And history informs us.
Well, I think that's where our hope comes from as well.
That's true.
We're still here. Yeah.
Look how bad we did it in the past.
There's been some pretty
and we're
rough
still
history
here.
out there, and we're still here, and there's no reason to believe that we won't be able to make jokes about history and grey weather 50 years from now. That's good. You know, it may then be an outer island of Australia, but by that point, but we'll still be here. So that's
Australia's
good.
batch.
Yeah.
Oh, the hope is just
Yeah.
absolutely.
Generally good egg.
Oh, I've got a good one. So at the weekend, Labor, Chris Hipkins and the local Labor MPs went down to the Otara markets, traditional Labor stronghold, and were meeting and greeting voters, and they were followed around by Brian Tamaki and the Freedom Party movement. So there were bullhorns, there were slogans being shouted. And apparently the meet and greet did not go as smoothly as was hoped. One of the Labor MPs there was Jenny Salisa, and she was quoted in the article talking about this as one of the Freedom Party people was an in-law, and that she had said, "Look, I don't agree," but I went up to them and gave them a hug and said hi. It was just a nice moment that...
a human moment.
That's human moment that, it's only politics.
Can I say on two counts as well, politically disagreeing and also in-laws? Not that I don't get on with my in-laws, but a lot of people do struggle with that.
Yeah.
So hats off to Jenny Salisa.
Yeah, these you remember we get all those particularly American stories about how to deal with the uncle at Thanksgiving who votes Trump or something like that. And I think Jenny Salisa's given us an excellent example how you deal with them.
Give
with
them
love.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm not going to compete with that. I'm going to leave that there.
I'm not going to compete with that either, but I will reference a pretty good egg, Marcus Roberts, who had a reasoned discussion with someone from Make It 16 on TVNZ's breakfast show this week. And what I loved was you telling us, or telling me, Marcus, before that you guys were both watching the show and just chatting very amicably, and that was evident in the interview. It was a reasonable chat, and I thought you did very well.
Oh, thank you, Tim. Yeah, it was. It was nice. We can have our differences and we can disagree agreeably, which is what we're always trying to do.
Okay, what are we looking forward to? Enough Callow sentimentalism. What are we looking forward to this week?
Natasha.
I think some good policies will land this week. I'm going to claim it. I think that the parties have had enough time. You've got 8 weeks left to have some real discussion, to put some real ideas out there.
What's your threshold for good policy?
I think accomplishable. It's a big one, but also insightful. Seeing the times that we're living in, understanding the direction that we're going in, speaking to that. Not blue sky thinking, throwing stuff out there to make people feel better, but actually talking to people's concerns.
Can we have policy that has not been focus grouped? I would love that. That would just...
Unless it's been focus grouped with your mum. Have a chat with your family. Have a chat with your friends. Talk to them about what they're worried about.
Yeah.
And then get some good minds together and think about what you can do about it. That's all we ask of our politicians.
I want to see less urgency, i.e. less passing legislation under urgency, because we haven't got around, for a variety of reasons, to passing it thus far. But having said that, dispensing with processes that are necessary to dilute and improve legislation. So even though I was praising you for the Make It 16 discussion, this local body piece of legislation they want to push through, that should not be on the table right now. That's a mistake.
Well, I think it should be on the table right now if your only goal is to say you tried. Which I do worry that that's the reason why they've put it through. But you're right, Tim. The dozen laws that they currently are pushing through, the government is currently pushing through under urgency in the last couple of sitting weeks of Parliament before the end of the term, is a disgrace. It has been a disgrace, urgency, for the last few years, and it's not
because
just
it has been overused.
It's not just this government. The end years of the key government were also overusing urgency. We got a lot more pushback from commentators and media when it was the key government. We're getting far less.
No one's talking about this.
No one talks about it anymore. It is a constitutional disgrace. We don't have a second House of Parliament. We only have select committees where we get a say in our legislation. And what does urgency do? It takes away that ability for the public to get involved, but also for opposition MPs to read, think, research, and come back with informed critiques of the legislation.
And strategize. You know how long your term is. So figure out what you can accomplish in that time and stick to that and do it.
Urgency should only be used for emergencies, not because you didn't get around to it.
Fast law is always bad law. Jeremy Waldron, ex-Sir John Graham lecturer.
What did he say? Fastest law in the West?
Fastest law in the West.
Sounds
It was not under urgency.
And that was not under urgency. So less urgency, more clarity. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Maxim Institute podcast. If you'd like to hear more from us and keep up with the rest of our research and analysis of politics and policy in New Zealand, you can sign up on the homepage of our website to get our monthly forum email and invitations to future Maxim Institute events. You can search and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. From the team at Maxim, mā te wā. Goodbye for now.